Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good. How you doing, lady?
I am doing really well. I'm doing really well.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. And this is 2/22 of 2022.
Oh my God. I just realized that, Barbara. I just realized that. Wow.
You know, and there are little things that people think about. I mean, and I am not a numerologist by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the things a friend of mine was telling me, that when you add some of the numbers that you add up now, like for today, comes out has 1776, which is when we, when the U.S. became a nation. I do say we because I live here. However, I am, as you know, I'm not
Canadian.
I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
And yet, so it has just been I've had a couple of interesting conversations about all the things that are supposed to go on today. Like it's supposed to start today, a convoy of truckers going across the nation. Haven't researched it, but just hearing little rumors. And it's like,
now, wait a minute, Barbar. Why are they going? I mean, is there a reason for it?
In support of the Canadian truckers, and they're also doing one from what we're hearing, they're doing one, and it might start today. I don't know. I haven't researched it, to tell you the truth, but I have heard it from a couple of different sources. But I haven't researched it for myself. But there's also one supposedly going on in New Zealand and Australia and Israel. That that the truckers are getting together, solidarity, global.
Wow.
So,
that's a nice movement. That's a pretty good movement.
That's a good, and that's where, like sometimes all it takes is one person to start something.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
One person with a vision, with an idea. And you know what? And the thing is that's why where you and I come in, especially you, because it's about visibility. Get your message out there.
Yes.
There are 7 billion people on this planet. There are going to be other like-minded people.
Yes.
That want to join you. So now, as the Canadians, they've started it. They are now getting support from U.S. truckers. Well, and now we're hearing that they're getting some support from worldwide truckers. It's like you band together.
I keep telling people, don't do it alone. I mean, you don't know how many people when you get together of impact that you can make, like you just said, Barbara. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think what happens so often is that we get caught up in what others want us to do, and we don't concentrate on the things that we want to do, that we are inspired to do, and God is calling us to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happens when we get caught up in something that's of a lower value of than what we value for ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's when people procrastinate and they get frustrated and they hesitate and all of that stuff. Once they get passionate and it goes from their head down to their heart, then they become disciplined and reliable and focused. Yes, let's do it. And so that's what's happening. And so there's these movements going around.
Yeah. And see, I like what you said when you just said, let's do it. So another thing, when you get together with like-minded people that want to do, take a charge and believe in something moving forward. And then if you feel like maybe one day you're like, oh, I'm not feeling it. I mean, you're still feeling that you want to do it, but we go through our stages of life. Then you got the other people in the group to keep pushing and encouraging.
Keep going.
So you're encouraging each other. Yeah. To keep moving.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to get your message out there, because you are going to find the other like-minded people.
Yeah. And you never know. People always saying, well, we didn't move that many people. If it's just one person, I always tell people, if you could just change one person's life, to me, that is huge.
Because it's the ripple.
Yeah.
If you touch their life and then that they touch somebody else's life, like you have touched my life. with this show,
that's
with
my
doing this show, and all the things that have sprung from this, the people that have connected with me, and
yeah, because I can't keep up with. I still can't keep up with how many shows you have, Barbara. I was like, I said, you got your own network, and I'm like, okay, I got to keep up what days the shows that comes on for her.
you know, and it's fun. It is. I'm absolutely enjoying it, and so that's one of the things that we had talked about, things that I have learned.
Okay,
you know, because you know that my purpose is to serve God, and then to learn, and then to teach other people what I learn.
Yes,
that's kind of. But one of the things that I have learned about about myself this week, and because it's this journey that we call life, it's an adventure.
Yes.
So make it an adventure, and do the things that you love to do with the people that you love to do it with, because you're going to find other people who also love to do it. I don't care if it's that you want to play cribbage on Zoom. It doesn't matter what it is. If you find the people that also want to do it. And it's just the craziness. But one of the things that I have learned, you know, we always talk about habits. Get into the habit of like writing in a journal, or get into a habit of whatever it is. You know, we all have habits of how we brush our teeth, how we brush our hair, how we wear our hair, what clothes we wear, all of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I caught myself this week, and it's one of my affirmations, is that I walk with a spring in my step and a smile on my face. That's one of the things that I say every morning. Okay. Because sometimes it's hard to do that. Yeah. Definitely die. There's days when you just don't feel like putting a smile on your face and walking with a spring in your step.
Yeah, I'm a witness. Yeah.
Yeah. There are days that you do that. One of the things now, because it has become such a habit for me to be saying that, because I have been saying that to myself now since January. I think it was one of my New Year's resolution, my New Year's thingies. That was something that I was going to be saying to myself, because that's how I want to be. I want to be happy. You know, I'm the happiness girl. We are the happiness. We're the happiness BBs. So I have to exude that. The other day, I was just kind of walking. I was kind of, one of these numbers, just wasn't feeling it. And then it was like, Barbara, you walk with us. You walk with a spring in your step and a smile on your face. And I caught myself doing it because it had become such a habit for me to say it. And then because I was in the habit of saying it several times during the day, the habit kicked in. That's why the habit kicked in. And all of a sudden it was like, you know what? Yeah, I do walk with a spring in my step and a smile on my face.
I love it. I love it. Just a reminder.
Just as a reminder, because the lifeblood that we have flowing through our veins, it's our lifeblood, and our lifeblood impacts everything.
Yes,
everything. Like everything. You can feel the emotion when you are just, yay! That's your lifeblood springing up in you. That is what creates your level of activity, of moving forward, that you take action. That's a habit that you can help yourself to get into. So it was just really just like, oh, I caught myself doing it because I wasn't feeling it right at that moment.
And you know what? I'm glad. See, that's one thing about I always say, be true to yourself. Some days you're going to have those days where it's a little bit harder to kind of put the smile on or get a little step in, kick in your step or whatever you said.
In your step.
give me a step. But then that's why you have those affirmations. You just proved right there example
Why they're so
of how
important.
affirmations work. Yeah. Yeah.
So important. So my thing is that find the ones that work for you. How do you want to be? And and that comes back to one of the things that I work with my clients is, who are you within what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you within what you do? Because if you're not true to yourself within what you do, how can anybody else come along and know who you are? If you're not true to yourself within what you do, whether it doesn't, like for me, I'm a wellness brand, partner, and I'm a personality science trainer. You're a visibility strategist. Catriona, you're going to love her story. I mean, she's the Accidental Confectioner. It's like, I love
when I heard that title, I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. I can't wait to hear her story.
Interesting to hear how she became that. That's when we originally talked. And so find those things and then make the affirmations that support it. Because those things are going to really kick in automatically when you are not quite feeling it.
Yeah.
But I have one other thing that you're not, if you're not if you're not quite feeling it, then that's what that habit that you have created within you will kick in. The other thing I learned this week is how to have an IOU.
IOU.
We always think an IOU. We always think that IOU, an IOU is financial or whatever, and that you owe me IOU, What's So this IOU, I loved it, and I said, I've got to share it. It's all about having a conversation with someone. If you need to have a conversation with someone that is not necessarily the most pleasant conversation to have with somebody, if you really do have to tell them something, the I stands for identify. Why are you having the conversation? Do you really need to have this conversation? Or is it something that you're just and need to let it go? Really? But if it is something that you really do need to have a conversation with someone about, identify why you're having it. And do this before you have the conversation. Identify why am I having this? Well, I need to have this, this, and this resolved. Okay. Identify. Then, before you start the conversation, organize your thoughts. Not what you're going to say, but your thoughts about it.
Okay.
Because sometimes we program what we're going to say this and we're not listening, because it's all part of active listening. I'm doing whole bunches of things because I'm going to tell on myself. Listening is not always my strong suit. And this is where this came in. And this was why it was like, ooh, Barbara, this. They're talking to the choir here. I'm talking to the choir here. This is something that I am actively working on. Okay? Organize your thoughts, not what you're going to say. Because you have to be able to listen to what the other person is saying. Okay? Because that's the O part. Then the U part, the I of the IOU, is to understand the other person's point of view.
Now that's a mic drop.
Because there's two sides of everything under God's green earth. Hot, cold, light, dark, warm, cold, and everything in between.
You have me sitting here taking notes. You know that, Barbara. I'm writing these notes right now. That's why I'm looking down. I'm like, okay, identify, organize, understand. Yes.
IOU. And I love acronyms because they help me to be. So now when I'm thinking about, oh yeah, I've got to do IOU. Okay. Now, Barbara, I have to have this conversation with whoever, or even with a coaching client. Who are you talking to? Identify why you're having the conversation. Organize your thoughts, not your responses. Because so often when I do this, I'm first to admit that I'm telling on myself. I do this. I'm already, rather than listening to what they're telling me and saying to me, I'm already crafting
That's
my
right.
response.
And I always tell people, I said, you're not listening if you're so busy trying to put yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to say when they get done. So usually I tell people, so I say it bluntly. I'm like, so you're waiting for them to shut up so you can say what you have to say.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what people do sometimes.
And we have all been known to do that. So number one, don't beat yourself up for the fact that, and yesterday I have to admit, when I first was learning this, it was like, oh crap, Barbara. And I could think of several instances right off the bat where I did it. Oh, and so, and two of them, I wrote back and I apologized. And if you have done it, go back to the person and just say, hey, you know what? In my enthusiasm to, share what I neglected to take into account your point of view. Which is tough to do sometimes, but you like bite the bullet, because if you don't do it, it's going to come back to haunt you.
Yeah.
It'll come back to haunt you.
It will.
So,
it will.
Just take care of your IOUs.
IOUs. And Barbara, I was going to say, you could even take that even further, excuse me, by, how when people, I always say, don't have an unnecessary meeting. Right. Have some kind of agenda. I hate when people say, we're going to have a meeting, and then we're in a meeting and they're kind of fumbling or don't know what, they're trying to figure out what to say. And I'm like, okay, what was the reason for this meeting? So the same thing, we can do the IOU for meetings.
Exactly. Yeah. It's multi-purpose. It's for whatever you have to do with something, because you know what? We can't live life on our own. We have to do it with people. So identify why you're having the meeting, the conversation, the get together, whatever it is, the party. Identify the party. And say you're doing something fun. One of the times where this would have really come in helpful for my sister and I, we were planning my mother's and father's 40th or one of the anniversaries. And the conversation around it kind of fell apart. And afterwards it was like, well, Liz said this, I said this, and we realized that we were both saying the same thing. We were just saying it from different perspectives, and neither one of us were listening to each other. And so consequently it was like, oh yikes. So this applies to when I learned this, and that's one of my things, is that when I learn something, I teach other people about it. And if you find it helpful, I would just really encourage you to share it out, because we all have had conversations that were less than stellar.
Lessons learned from it. I love it. I wrote it down. You have it like on my little. I always put things like this. I always put it on my little laptop to remember. So this is one of those to remember IOU, and not just owing money or owing somebody some time. It's basically understanding, organizing, understanding, and what, and
identify, organize, and understand.
Organize and understand. Yep. When you're talking to somebody,
understand the other person's point of view.
Yes.
So important.
And that's where the listening comes in. Like, I can't stress that. Like Barbara said, we have to work on it. I mean, I had to work on it for a while, because I was thinking to myself, I said, okay, if I call myself a consultant, like a strategist or a consultant, whatever label I have, then those type of labels, the listening aspect has to already be there. You have to, it doesn't make no sense if somebody coming to you and they're telling you what their needs are, so you can help them out. You're like talking over them or trying to figure out what to say next because, you got something to say. It's all about Barbara. No, it's not all about Barbara. It's about the person that's coming to you. You need to listen to what they have to say. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why God gave us 2 ears and only one mouth.
Only one mouth. And I say that all the time.
And I say that so often. However, I don't always
Do it.
use
I
them.
don't either. Sometimes this takes over the 2 years. It's like this gets a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but the thing is though, I really truly believe that when we hear something like that, it just makes it, gee, oh, when I heard it, it was like, oh, oh yeah, I am doing that. I did it and I could think instantly of 2 people that I had done it to, and just went, to their friends of mine, and they just said, Barb, we love you anyways.
We're all a work in progress.
We're always thank you. We are all a work in progress. So,
well, with that said, we want to bring on our wonderful queen. I call Lady Queens, our guest today. So, but before that, we got to feel some love for our sponsors. So we're going to put them on for a minute, and we'll be right back with our guest. Here we go.
Awesome.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Ta-da, we're back.
Ta-da, we're back. Yay! And we have our sound?
I think we do, yes.
Yes, we
Oh.
yes.
Yay!
There we are.
Magic.
The technology gremlins every once in a while.
Yes,
they were definitely signed up.
We were battling them this morning, but we did it. We did it. We got our guest.
Yeah.
Girl power. Girl power.
I love it. Love it.
Anyways, how are you doing, Catriona? How are you?
I am really well, thank you. All the better for getting past those gremlins. It took a while, but I'm here.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm doing really well.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, so now where do you live in England, right?
I'm in Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland. I knew it was over there. We talked several months ago. And when we were talking about how she became the Accidental Confectioner, and we need to have you on the show to tell how that came about and why it came about. So, Catriona, and I know, and I'm going to tell that she has a book coming out. So we're going to talk about that too. So
yeah.
So tell us about yourself.
Because the Accidental Confectioner, well, the clue's in the name, really. It was total accident. I am self-taught, and the reason the accidental part came about was I had a diagnosis of cancer in 2014. And as you know, that happens and all normality, for want of a better word, just goes out the window and things hit the fan. So I got through the actual cancer part relatively, relatively okay with the whole thing. But I needed something to take my mind off things, to stop all that internal shitty committee. Sorry. And it's like, I thought, do you guys get the Great British Bake Off? No, it's all about, the amateur bakers and things.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was obsessed with this at the time and absolutely loved it. I thought I can do that.
Oh, I love
No reason
watching
I can't
baking
do that.
shows.
So I taught myself to bake anything and everything. When I had taught myself all the baking, I then taught myself to make chocolates. And I fell into all of this, hence the accident. And so I'm an accidental confectioner. The course now, the accidental confectioner, it came off the back of that because initially in 2016 I began selling the confectionaries and it went really well. And after a while I thought, you know what? This isn't what I want to do. This doesn't fulfill me. It was like everybody had suggested, you should sell them. And there's me standing, second chance at life. Yep, everything's a yes, let's do it. And then it hit me after quite a while. This is my passion. I'm not doing this for me. So the course was the next step that was truly aligned with me and my passion, which was to help others use baking and confectionery as that sort of mindfulness, that creative therapy. And it works on the really simple premise of keep it as simple as you can. When I was ill and I had the mental fallout afterwards, I had been in a very dark place. And when things went wrong, I thought, oh, I could do that. And I would try the recipe. I would put too much salt in or something silly, and I would throw it in the bin and get super stressed out. So I thought the course, it's going to be so easy. And I have put together 5 of the most simple possible recipes. And they're so achievable with absolutely delicious results. And I put those together in 4 pre-recorded modules. And when you're standing and you're breaking eggs into a bowl, you are not thinking about all the other rubbish that's going on. You are creating for the joy of it. It's not for pudding. It's a bonus, but it's not for pudding. It's not because people are coming round. There's no stress. It's all just time for you. Bake the stress out of the day.
Yeah. And that's exactly what Barb and we were talking about this morning. Find the thing that you love to do. And you brought up exactly, you fell into doing something because you got caught up in what others were telling you to do rather than what was fulfilling your passion.
Totally.
So, yeah. And we all do that.
Yeah.
We get caught
all the
up
time. All the time.
So
It's so easy to fall out of line with your own authenticity and your passion because you see what other people expect you to do, what other people expect you to say. It's like from when you're really young, you smile and the mom and dad, they're like, yay, that's fantastic. And you grow up and all of a sudden you want everybody to think what you do and what you say is amazing. And what they think is amazing is then put on. You take that on, and you fulfill that. And so, it's so easy done. It's easier to do that than to find your passion and act on it.
So true, because when you think about it, when you're born, everything that we kind of do up to a certain age. And we had to be careful even after the age we can make decisions for our own, that we're still not letting other people influence us so much that we're not doing our passion. But after when we're born, go to school, do this, listen to this, make sure you do that, clean up your room, just all that kind of stuff. And, you're growing through this from the ages from when you're born to maybe 18, when you think about it. And then after that, now you got to go in the other world where it's like, okay, I got to get a job. I got to make sure I'm making money. I need my 401k. So it's like everybody's telling you kind of what to do. But then, like you said, okay, now wait a minute. This is all well and good. Thank you for, like, pressing on the path of my life. But what do I want to do? What do I feel comfortable with? What's my purpose? You need to ask those questions. So I'm so glad, lady, that you found that, within your word. I feel like everybody needs to find that in their world. Yeah.
Oh, we really do. And whilst I think we all really need to find it if we're lucky enough. But some of us just aren't lucky enough to really, truly find our passion. Because it's not always easy. I went through life and I didn't even think about the fact that, what is my passion? I just kind of did. And I mean, I do feel really, really lucky though, because it was 47, 48 before I realized my passion. So I suppose it doesn't really, not that it doesn't matter, but when it comes to it, as long as you find your passion and you can fulfill it, then that's the important bit.
So true. So true.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I share with people too, is that so often we're just going along doing our life. We get up in the morning, we make, we go to our job, we pay our bills, we raise our children, we do this, that, and that, until all of a sudden something happens. In my case, my husband died. Catriona Briggs, she got an illness that was not pleasant. Barb, you've had some things going on in your life.
Yeah. It's funny how certain things like that occur in our lives to kind of change the whole way of it. Yeah. Because I know with Catriona, I can understand you with the cancer, because just it's been 9 years for me. I know I had uterus cancer where I had to have a hysterectomy done. So basically that changed my life for two reasons. First, like you said, when you find out that, that health-wise, like you just said, it's like everything kind of changes. You stop. It stops you. It gives you a pause in your life. And you start thinking, okay, now there's really something else I need to be doing, because now this came in my life. Not to put it in a negative way, because I had to make sure I wasn't going negative with it, but put in a way, okay, what do I really need to do now? Because now I don't know how long this is I don't know if I'm going to live a certain way or whatever now. So you make those decisions sometimes when certain things creep up in your life that you were not ready to face, especially when it comes to health crisis. Yeah.
Do you know what I noticed? Now, when I had got past my own cancer, the depression, the anxiety, I thought I have managed to, I was very, very lucky. I managed to surround myself with a group of people, push myself out of comfort zones. And I looked around, all these people were hugely successful, and every single one of them, there had been that moment where things went wrong, or there was a diagnosis, and suddenly they had this option. Okay, I can grow here, or I can just stay where I am. And they chose to grow. And I do think that that's a huge point, is grow, but you have to choose that.
Yeah. I'm getting so excited, Catriona, because I tell people that all the time. Me and Barbara talks about it too, where you got to make a decision here. Are you going to go this way or are you going to go that way? You have to make that choice. Yeah. Am I going to go down that road of depression and keep just, going down that dark place, like I tell people? Or you say, okay, you know what? Let me get up, because this is more about not just me anymore. You can save other people. Right now, Catriona, you are saving, and people are looking at you and they're saying, wow, I can do this. I can do some things. They're listening to you.
Oh, totally, because we all can. But sometimes it takes that, seeing somebody else doing it. I mean, it's taken a lot of people, me seeing a lot of people. And I'll be honest, because, I'm really very open and honest about the whole cancer journey, because the cancer was a tiny bit. And I always say that cancer's been the best and worst thing to happen, because I was able to look around and see all these people, and I went from seeing all these people coping and me having a meltdown, why can't I cope, and going through depression, anxiety, I was suicidal and self-harming. And when I was finally open and honest with myself and really vulnerable, I went to the GP, who never ran out of tissues. It was great. And to the counsellor, who was absolutely fantastic. And that's when I could start to look around and see, you know what, after a lot of vulnerability with other people then and family, I could see, you know what, actually, I can do this. I'm just doing it in a different way to they did. See all that where I wasn't coping? That's fine. It was a blip and it was not the end. Truthfully, it was the start of huge things, you know?
Wow.
And I think one of the things that I always try to share with people is that when you're at that point, I remember the day that I sat there and said, I cannot go on like this for another moment. Mm-hmm. The only thing is I had no idea how to do that. And right at that moment, I really try to share with people that you don't have to know right at this moment how it's going to work. All you have to trust is that it is going to work.
Yeah.
That your life is going to get better, that your life, you are going to grow. You are going to find what you are supposed to be doing. You're going to know and then the people will come to teach you the how. Like you fell into, like as you say, you accidentally fell into baking. But there was that first person who said, gee, bake something. And then you've now expanded on that one idea. And that sometimes, like for me, it was when a friend of mine asked me, well, Barb, what do you want? I said, I just want people to be happy. Mm-hmm. Well, then that's your thing. Go out into the world and do things to make people happy. And
like you said, Barbara, you never know what's going to transpire out of when you make that decision and say, I want to do something, like when somebody told you, just make people happy. So you found ways and different, what you do, workshops, webinars, you got with other people, you have your own shows. So you have built that all on the basis of you're trying to make happiness the norm.
Yep.
And Catriona, same thing with baking. She took baking onto a whole nother atmosphere. I know she probably never thought it was going to be this big of a thing, not just the baking part of it. That was just like the beginning part.
That's the beginning part of it. Right.
Yeah, it never occurred to me that it could be, a course that wasn't just this, make something amazing, that it's something that is just time for you. It's mindful and it's like a therapy of sorts. But it's funny, those things don't occur to you until, like you're saying, Barbara, someone turns around and says to you, okay, you want to make people happy, go do it. And all of a sudden, your brain starts trying to find ways to make that happen.
Exactly.
And it's just
sometimes
really,
it takes somebody just to say that. It's funny, Catriona, how you said it. Sometimes it does just take a person to turn around and tell you, well, just go do it. You're in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, okay, you're right. Let's just go do this. You're right.
Yeah.
It's when you get curious.
Because right at that moment, you don't need to know the how. You just have to say, okay. And the universe will bring you the people that'll show you the how.
Yeah. Yeah. You start looking for these people and the universe does, they put them in front of you and it's like, hello, yeah, let's do something together. Let's make something happen.
Right.
And you said about, you don't have to know when you don't, I know exactly what you mean. You don't have to know that sort of goal you do want to have something in sight, that goal, but then you want to almost put that aside and look at those next steps. And those can be, my wee boy, he's dyslexic. And I brought his reading age on by something like 4 years by doing a little book called Toe by Toe. And you had to break everything right back down, right to the vowels, to the consonants, and putting them together in blends. And I think in life, when I want to be over there. Okay, right, you've got your destination, but now you need to be break it down into the smallest of steps and just take those little toe by toe incremental steps. And the next thing you know, you've made it happen. You've made people happy. You're helping people be, mindful through baking. You've got your own show. it just happens as long as we keep taking those little steps.
So true. Ooh, that's so true. I like how you broke that down, Catriona. Yeah, as long as you just take those little steps. And a lot of times sometimes we get frustrated. I know I get frustrated sometimes. I gotta admit, open disclosure.
We all do.
Like, I just want it. What's going on? I need to get it now. I want to do like a little kid, have a little temper tantrum or something. And I'm like, okay, Barbara, I gotta go to Usha moment. Like, okay, Barbara, calm it down. Take the steps. You're getting there. It's gonna take a little time. Yeah.
So, Catriona, you have a book coming out. Let's talk about your book.
Yes, that's been exciting. All of a sudden, I'm on the last leg, and it's like, oh, I'm an author.
So, congrats.
It's called Being Vulnerable, Victim to Victor. And the vulnerable is ABLE in caps. And to me, you look up vulnerability, or even when you hear about it places, it's a real weakness. You're vulnerable to something or someone or somebody. But yeah, it's true. But my definition is to be vulnerable is to act despite all those perceived judgments, laughter, and ridicule. It's to just act with courage and go for it. Just act. And yeah, it might go wrong. People might laugh, but you know what? That's okay, because you can risk failing. But the flip side is you're risking winning. And it's always worth it.
Yeah.
So the book, like I said, it's Being Vulnerable, Victim to Victor, and I truly believe that the key for me going from victim to victor was vulnerability. I had to open the door, look inside of me, and be really open and honest and get real, and then learn to help myself. And when I'd done that, then I had to be really, really vulnerable with my GP first, my counsellor, and then my family. Those were tough. The family was the tough one. So it's looking at things in the book from a personal level, a personal point of view, using my experiences. But I think it's really important that people know my experiences, they're past, they've happened, and they're not the important part. The important part are the light bulbs that I share, those little light bulb moments go off. Oh yeah, when you look back on reflection and you realise different things and you have all the lessons that you've learned. And I've included then the techniques that I used on my journey from victim to victor. And I've got a list of the techniques that people can use, because I really believe that, yes, your first step is to be really open and vulnerable. And then I think you have to be very mindful of how you look at things. And I talk a lot about perspective and reframing your thoughts. So I cover a lot between the vulnerability, the communication, perspective, and also, and this is, to me, this is so important, is the bigger picture. I had cancer, I was depressed, I had anxiety, I was suicidal, but you know what? There were other people there. Not to dismiss what myself or anybody else who's ill is going through, but those other people are there too, seeing things, feeling things from a very different perspective. So the book is a combination of all those things, and I think that this is something that will help the thousands of people, men and women, who have found themselves in the same or similar situations as I was. And then they have the techniques, and hopefully my real hope is that they will be able to use these and find their way from victimhood to victorhood a lot more easily and a lot more quickly. It's been a labour of love. It really has, and it's helped me personally as well.
Well, yeah, you've lived it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
definitely.
that, you know, they always say that you teach what you've lived.
Yeah, but you know what's lovely to write about it? It reminds you, because you always forget little things. And it gives you those wee reminders about things you think, oh, here, I've been slipping. I need to remember to look at other people's perspectives. Or you had a really negative day there. Why did you not reframe? Why did you not look at it differently? You know? So it's nice actually to go back and look at what you've lived. Because one thing I always say is hindsight, a wonderful thing. And it is when you reflect on it.
Yes.
That's when it's useful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it just reminds
And
you
I
of
love-
you took the steps to get to that point. So it just reminds when you go back and think about all the steps, you're like, wow. And I always tell people that's where you get that secret sauce to help other people move forth in what they're trying to do. So that's why your book is going to be so powerful, because now you tell them the steps, be vulnerable, be open, you know, be honest and stuff. You're teaching them those steps so they can get through what they're going through. Powerful.
Yeah. But
And
that
one of the
vulnerability.
things that- yeah. No, go
No, I
ahead.
just said that vulnerability is so important. You know, that opening the door and allowing people in to help and support you. You know, that's it seems so small and simple, but it takes such courage and such strength. And all of a sudden, though, you realize, you know what? I have a support team. You know, I'm not on my own here, and it's I do believe key. That's how the name came about, and the able is in capitals because all the growth came from that moment of vulnerability. Sitting down, it's funny you talked about conversations in IOU. I sat down with, first of all, my mum, and then my husband, and I had very vulnerable communications. And I had no clue what was going to come out. No idea. No idea. There was no identifying. There was nothing. And it all just fell out. But it was the best conversation I could have had.
Yeah, so some conversations it's just gonna happen, you know.
Right.
You know? Yeah. You never know what's gonna come out of that. Yeah.
Oh,
Barbara, did you
right.
have something to say? I know you had something to say.
Well, one of the things that I loved what Catriona said was that to find the usefulness, that what you're going through, people so often just, well, why me? Rather than, and I loved what you said about reframing. Not the why me. Why is this happening to me? What do I need to learn from this that's going to move me to help others? And I think that has just been the beautiful part of what you've been talking about is just because that what you had, everybody, we all have things like that. It's either a disease or a loss or, you know, whatever. But how we use it, or do we stay in that dark place? So this was a great conversation, just to reiterate that, you know, what you're going through, there's other people out there that are also going through stuff.
Yes, definitely.
Just
and you're not alone. I always
You're
tell people
not
you're not alone. You're not alone. Well, Catriona, we appreciate you coming on the show, lady. And we fought those gremlins of technology, and I'm so glad we did, because now we got this beautiful lady that's given us so much wisdom. And we really congratulate you for your book that's coming out soon. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and can I just say also, when the pre-sales begin, 30% of all the monies from the sales goes to Action Cancer.
Oh, yay.
So I'm loving that, and I'm really hoping that people can get behind that.
Yes.
Sorry, just a shameless plug and things, but on behalf of Action Cancer, so I know you don't mind.
Nope.
No. We're here to support. So even when it comes out, please make sure we get the link or whatever, and we'll, come on the show and remind people to, basically buy the book because it's helping, not just, it's helping others. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always, so that would be great. Yeah. It's, so many people, one of their biggest things is that they say, oh, I'd love to write a book, and they never do it. I am so proud of you that you are writing a book.
Yes.
It is such fun when you are, like, for myself, one of these days I'm going to write a book of my own, but I've been part of like 3 different books. And even if you just start writing a chapter, be part of a book compilation. It is such fun. And you can say that you are an author.
Yeah. And you're changing lives. I always add that to it. Changing lives. Yes.
Your voice is important. So this was great. I loved the name, Accidental Confectioner. And just a friend of mine said me, she's single, and she sent me a thing on Valentine's Day, and it said, happy 50% off chocolate Eve. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy 50% off chocolate Eve.
Yeah.
She's just worried about the discount. You think about that discount.
And yet, although this year there was very little candy left.
Well, I had a feeling because of what's going on, with the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that friend of ours.
Yeah. And a couple of, we did get several boxes of chocolates, and some of the little boxes of chocolate that used to have like 9 pieces of chocolate in it, it's now down to 5. Oh, it was like, wow, we really noticed it. That, wow, or some of them that used to have like 13, a baker's dozen, was now down to 9.
Yeah, it's changing.
And it was just like, ooh, things have changed.
So we need to appreciate everything we can get. So thank you, Jen.
I love chocolate. So
I know. Thank you,
It's
Jen.
been great.
And
lovely. Thank you.
I know. But Barbara, anything real quickly, anything coming up for you? Just to remind people.
I've got a couple of things in the works that are not ready for publication yet, but part of it is I'm in the process of doing to become a sponsor. So I've got a little animated type of thing of a survey type of thing, and it's really cute. I'm really liking it. So I have an appointment this afternoon to get that up and going. So I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Always things moving. And Catriona, just want to let you know you are always welcome to come back, especially your book is coming up shortly. So we want to make sure that we give you, because I'm the visibility person, so I'm always reminding people to get more visibility through us. So anytime you want to come back, lady, you are welcome.
Oh, that'd be fab. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
everybody, this time to shine happiness. Have a great day. And always remember what Barbara, always make happiness the
norm rather than the exception, because you deserve to live a happy, healthy, financially free, abundant life.
Perfectly said. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you next Tuesday.
See you next week.